You
These
can call
locations,
each of these
ma'am, I just
places.
want to make sure that we have clarity. Because this is a shelter for 24-hour emergency shelter. And I want to make sure, because for 5 years I, have been having, it's been impossible for me to get it. So I want to make sure that you give me a referral to a place where someone makes a living, and getting someone in shelter where it will actually happen.
Are you seeking shelter for yourself?
Right. We've already went over this.
Because the shelters that I'm about to refer you to, they're gonna want information from you specifically, and then they will assist you further.
I'm not being heard, ma'am. Does anyone on this planet that works at a homeless shelter specialize in getting that party off the street? Are you guys scamming for 5 years and enforcing me to be homeless? That's federal. That's a crime if someone is depriving someone of housing, intentionally keeping them in jeopardy. So my thing of it is, if these a multitude of people, conspirators, including at hotel stays, are conspiring together as a task force and team to keep me on the streets, that's a crime. So what I'm trying to do, because this has been going on 5 years and it's been impossible, I'm trying to see if there's actually advocacy and agencies that get someone off the streets. Because it hasn't happened for 5 years. So what I'm trying to do is get a number to where an advocate will keep attempting, or will get that party off the streets with nonstop, and not just scam that the places are full for 5 years and other cons. Is there an advocate that actually gets someone off the streets and place them in a shelter? Because I've been hearing it's full for years.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the number?
The number is 214.
Okay.
821.
Okay.
5393.
5393?
Huh?
What's that number to, ma'am?
This place is called the Mosaic.
Mosaic. Okay, let me call him, ma'am. Thank you.
This hotline, how may I help you?
Yes, may I have your name?
I'm sorry?
May I have your name?
This is Kim.
Okay, thank you. I've been having a housing crisis, and I'm trying to get off the streets and get placement to get help to get off the streets. An advocate that will get me off the streets.
Okay, and what's your name?
It's Kiana, Keyana.
Okay, Kiana. And do you have children?
Not that will be coming with me.
Okay. And is this in regards to a domestic violence situation?
It is, but I'm blacklisted from all DV assistance, period. So you're going to be full. So I don't know how to combat that. You're going to be full for DV assistance, so I just tried to do homeless shelters because they've all been full and won't give me assistance in all DV locations, even in California.
Well, unfortunately, that especially in Texas, there's such a need for the emergency shelters, and you're absolutely right. I've worked in this field for over 30 years, and even that time, the programs have been full or at capacity. And so
there's a lot of conspirators and people committing crimes, because used to be when a woman was fleeing for their life, the advocate's responsibility was to get that party in a safe environment, even if they had to relocate. But now the con is that every place on the planet is full, forcing that party's life to be in jeopardy for 5 years. Because used to be advocates that work to save that lady's life. And ma'am, as an advocate, have you heard of places being full for 5 years and a person forced to live in a tent?
Well, no. I mean, with an emergency, now there are all different types of programs, but with an emergency shelter, typically because it's a 30 to 45 day stay, and some of them have even gone down to 2 weeks. It's been challenging because there's such a great need that
I'm not being heard, ma'am. I know that there's a time constraint, but I think that there is something amiss if for 5 years, like you said, if you haven't heard of that, if I haven't had shelter for 5 years.
Right. Well, I agree with you. I hope you hear me saying that. Unfortunately, like I said, having been doing this for a while, that it's not uncommon. and there
Oh, so
there's
you're
other
saying that a
programs.
woman fleeing for her life for 5 years, it's not uncommon for her not to be able to get housed 5 years?
I'm saying that it's not uncommon that programs are full. Now,
For
it is
5 years.
uncommon.
So forcing a
It's
lady that's
uncommon
fleeing for
that.
her life to live on the street in a tent, that's not uncommon for 5 years.
No, ma'am, and I apologize if you're not hearing me correctly. I was just simply saying that programs are often full, and yes, programs can be at capacity on a continuous basis for a long-term time. So I apologize if you didn't hear that correctly. So we are as well at capacity, so how can I help you today?
Well, what I was looking for was like advocacy. I think that, what's your name again?
My name is Kim.
Okay, Kim. So with when a woman's fleeing a domestic violence crisis, the advocates don't find her one and relocate her to a safe environment anymore. They're at capacity and deny
Yes,
all
ma'am,
other services.
Through the program. So you've reached just the crisis hotline, and this is the first step to the screening process. But through the actual programs, like for our
Ma'am, okay, hold on, because I've had to endure this 5 years. I just want to get clarity. Is there anyone on the planet, period, that makes a living of getting someone in a safe environment?
Kiana, I can't answer that. I'm not responsible for the entire planet, and it just sounds like you're frustrated. So I'm pretty sure nothing that I say is gonna.
Are you gaslighting me, ma'am?
Answer you.
Are you gaslighting me, ma'am? Because you're not doing your job responsibility. I've been gaslit for 5 years, ma'am. I don't understand what all this gaslighting and mind games is for, ma'am. I've called for a crisis hotline for you to refusing to give me any kind of education on where I can get placed and get shelter.
I am happy to give you any resource that you'd like.
Okay, so for Mosaic, you don't have anyone that has a job of placing someone in shelter?
Anyone that has a job of placing
a job task of getting someone shelter.
Our shelter is at capacity. That is our job.
Okay, so I thought for advocates, ma'am, advocates place someone. I think that you guys are committing crimes as you've been doing 5 years. I think someone is definitely controlling my experiences and blacklisting me from housing, which is criminal. To repetitively over and over and over and scheme to keep me on the streets in jeopardy is criminal. I don't think that calling for 5 years and people covering for all the crimes, each location, and making it impossible to get housing as you've done for 5 years is acceptable. I don't believe you, ma'am. I think that you either are a scammer or either someone has enticed you to deprive me of services, which is in a conspiracy is criminal.
Okay. Is there anything else that I can do for you today?
I don't know, ma'am, because for 5 years I've called and I only spoke with scammers and people that leave me in jeopardy. I just want to speak with someone. I'm not being heard, ma'am. This is not appropriate on the crisis hotline.
If I'm not able to help you, I will disconnect.
I don't think this is appropriate on the crisis hotline, ma'am.
But if that's not what you need,
I don't understand why all these mind games and psychological abuse, ma'am, if someone's in a domestic violence crisis.
Cannot accept new messages. To disconnect, press 1. To enter another number, press 2. If you'd like assistance, press 0.
It's the FBI.
One moment while I transfer you to the next available representative. Your call will now...
So while I'm on hold with the FBI, for those people that are compassionate, can you imagine an abuser that knows what's going on at the Social Security Administration, that knows what's going on at the Attorney General controlling it, that knows what's going on with your job, your raises, knows what's going on with your family. Social Security Administration knows what clothes you're getting, intercept that, have people steal from you, staff, security, but it knows what's in your account, can have your bank to keep you from funds, knows when you're going to the store, knows when you're crossing the street, and controls all avenues of law enforcement to make sure you never get it.
Press 1 to learn how to submit a tip online.
In addition to that, your hotel stays and your phone and family. In addition to that, your church and friends. So this is how long I've been on hold. Okay, right here it states the color of law. That
Press
section
1
right
to learn
there.
how to submit a tip online.
Under,
After the
let me
instructions
take
are
this off
provided,
speaker.
your call will be disconnected.
Whoever under color of law of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any person, any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights. My phone went off. Rights, privileges, or immunity secured or protected by the Constitution, laws of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned no more than 1 year or both. If bodily injury results from the acts of committed violation of this section, if such acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of dangerous weapon, explosive, fire, shall be fined under this title and imprisoned not more than 10 years. It states also of kidnapping, leaving someone in jail with false charges, with time served. I don't know if that can be considered kidnapping. This is criminal. Taking my housing away, my children away, defrauding me out of funds left and right, enlisting conspirators in it, harassment.
Press 1 to learn how to submit a tip online. After the instructions are provided, your call will be disconnected.
And depriving me of all law enforcement, all different agencies. The wait was 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. They play games and have me waiting hours, knowing you'd never believe it that these calls are controlled. These people haven't racked up charges. My only avenue I can do is just say that I'm going to hurt myself. I would let them rob me out of funds in these hotel stays. They're probably going to play games and put me out. They're trying to con where I can no longer admit myself in hospital. What other choice do I have? What am I supposed to do? Can you imagine with all these denied services how it is if I have no funds, if they skim where I can't even eat, closing down food lines and playing games with all homeless people because I'm present, then blaming it on me, saying that I stopped the homeless people, called them and threatened them and mistreated them, and how would I even get the numbers? Why would anyone mistreat someone feeding them? And then, nothing. So you'll see what con, because they're trying to wipe out all shelter, even in hospitals. Less than 10 minutes, 16 minutes ago.
Calling the FBI. Have your first and last name, please.
My name is Kiana, Keyana. Last name Clark. I submitted several tips. Yeah, I submitted several tips and haven't got a call back, and they're pretty extreme events.
Just real quick. I just want to verify your first and last name.
Kiana,
Last name, I have
Kiana. I'm telling you, I don't know why this happens so routinely.
Yes, and I'm just going to verify your first and last name. So first name K is in kilo, E-Y-A, N is November, A. Last name C is in Charlie, L-A-R-K is in kilo. Is that correct?
Yes, and like I said, I reported some tips a long time ago with some pretty. I'm just can I, and I with a pretty extreme. Can you just give me a second to get clarity? I just get clarity? I know, but just for a second, I just have a question.
Would you like to provide your date of birth today?
Can I just ask you a question real quick? Because I want to make sure I'm calling the right number.
Okay, but before we get into that,
I want to, before the birth date is very personal, sir.
Would you like to provide your date of birth?
Just if you could just hold 1 second, because birth date is very personal information. I just want to make sure I'm dialing the right number. Is that okay? I just like to communicate with you what the purpose of this call is before you get the birth date. Is that okay?
You've reached
I just would like to communicate with you the purpose of the call. So I have given a lot of different tips
Would
and
you
have.
like to provide your date of birth? Yes or no?
I can't tell you why I call the FBI and get clarity. You have to interrupt me.
Okay. So, Kiana, I am required to answer these questions at the beginning of the call. If you'd like to provide your date of birth, I can take that. If not, all you have to say is no.
Gaslighting. Okay, so I have to give you my date of birth to ask a question. I have to give you my date of birth to ask the question. The ball's in your court. So I can't speak. I have to give you my date of birth to ask you a question.
provide your date of birth, but I am required to ask, would you like to provide it?
No, I'd like to get assistance if I don't have to provide it. I've been on hold 18 minutes. Can I talk to you?
Okay. Just to verify, you don't want to provide your date of birth.
Do I have to?
No, ma'am, you do not have to.
Okay, so I can talk to you without giving you my date of birth.
Okay, and can you verify you do not want to provide your date of birth, correct?
Will that keep me from speaking with you? Will you deny me services if I don't?
So, ma'am, if you're going to continue to do this, what you're doing right now, I'm going to have to end this call.
What am I doing, sir? Because I don't understand why these calls are so
birth.
psychologically abusive. Okay, I don't have rights, sir. You need my date of birth?
Would you like to provide your date of birth? That's 420.
That's correct.
What's your phone number? 45.
That's correct.
And is that, excuse me, is that your cell phone?
Yes.
What's your zip code?
75120.
Say that again.
75120.
And that's 75120.
That's correct.
Okay, and what crime are you calling to report?
Being deprivation of rights, being blacklisted from all housing and domestic violence help, law enforcement, interference with child custody crimes, abuse in jail, deprive my constitutional right to.
Stop calling the FBI. This call is being terminated.
I just don't understand how people are still free. How many they hung up? Don't call the FBI and report crimes. These are criminals doing this. These are criminals that I guess there's law enforcement is corrupt now. What hours and for years to get nothing done, racked up fellas, nothing.